Alright, welcome Year 8s. Come take a seat. And can we please get into our seating plan? So boys up the front, thank you. Move on to our learning intention and success criteria for today. So our learning intention is to understand and apply the principles of urban planning and livability to design a city. Hey, Claire, can you read out the success criteria for me, please?
I could create a detailed and imaginative map of ideal livable city, incorporating infrastructure, green spaces, transportation and amenities with clear use of bulk elements.
Awesome. And Noah, can you just read the second I can statement?
I can develop clear and relative survey questions that cover key aspects of urban livability, such as safety, healthcare, education, and environmental quality.
Awesome. Thank you so much for my volunteers for reading those 2 points out. Right, so Year 8s, we're going to start off with a think, pair, share activity. So I'll give you 30 seconds to discuss in your pairs what you think livability might mean. Marco.
Hello.
Awesome. Thank you for that response, Year 8s. Amelia, can you tell me what livability might mean to you? What were you and Josh discussing?
We spoke about having access to water.
Water, awesome. I'll chuck that one on the board. So is that any water or is it clean water, dirty water?
Clean water.
Clean water. Awesome. Noah, what was your group discussing?
We talked about like housing and where you live.
Housing. And what do you look for in it, like where you live? Do you look like for parks?
Yeah, stuff like that.
Stuff like
We also talked about food and how like good food helps
good
you
food.
live better.
Awesome. Awesome. So access to education. And there's one last one that starts with a H. Who can remember it? Can anyone find a friend? Claire.
Like healthcare or
Healthcare.
hospital or something.
Awesome. So all of these factors make a place livable. Okay, so Year 8s, your task today is split into 2 parts. The first part is a bit of creative and a bit of imagination. What I want you to do in groups, I want you to discuss what you think the most livable city will be. Maybe for you want to have lots of playgrounds, lots of greenscapes, or maybe you want to have lots of schools or lots of hospitals, okay? So in your groups you need to plan where you might put these areas to make it the most livable version of your city, all right? Now what do we do when we're making a map? Can anyone remember?
You have a scale. You have a scale.
You have a scale. What elements is that called?
Bolts.
Bolts, awesome. So you need to make sure you use bolts when you're designing your map today. The second part of today's task is you need to create a survey that you'll give out to whoever looks at your map about what makes your map the most livable area. So those questions could be, how do you rate on a scale of 1 to 10 the spacing of the parks? Is there enough green area? Think about transportation, public transport. Is everyone going to be driving their cars or riding their bikes? Think about pathways, that sort of thing. Okay, so, Year 8s, we're going to quickly touch over bolts again. Who can tell me what the B in bolts stands for? Josh.
Border.
Border, great. So when we're doing our map, we need to have a nice big border around. What about orientation, Noah? What can you tell me about orientation? That's all right, maybe Noah can phone a friend.
Claire, what's orientation mean?
From Year 7, I think we learned that it was like the north, south, east, west.
Awesome, great answer, Claire.
That's the starting.
Awesome. All right, so if we're making our map and we might have a path, but to someone else's eyes it doesn't look like a path, what should we put in the corner so we know it's a path?
Definitely a legend.
A legend, awesome, great response, Noah. In terms of title, what should we call our map?
World's most livable city.
World's most livable city. Awesome. Scale. Josh, can you tell me about scale? What do you think a scale might be?
Is it like how zoomed in the map is?
How zoomed in the map is. Awesome. So you might be using your ruler and you might have 1 centimetre is 100 metres on your map. And finally, your source. Does anyone know what a source is? Yeah, it's a bit of a tricky one. It's where you've got your map from. So if it's off Google Maps, you put that source down the bottom. Okay. Cool. So this is our map. Amelia, can you jump up and point to where you think the legend might be?
Up there.
Awesome, great answer. Cool. Noah, where do you think the orientation orientation on this map might be?
It's got that little N on it. Yep.
Awesome. Can you come up and point to the board
Yep.
for me? Thank you. Awesome. Okay, Claire, what about the scale? Where do you think the scale on the map is? Awesome. Go jump, take a seat. And Josh, do you want to come and point to the border? Where do you think the border will be? Perfect. That black line. Awesome. Take a seat for me. Great answer. So Year 8s, in a minute I'm going to get you to break off into groups and start working on your poster or your map. You need to make sure that you have all the elements of bolt. So I'll put it back up on the screen so we're all across it. So, border, orientation, legend, title, scale and source. Make sure you're all including it on the map. You can grab into your groups now. The instructions are on the board if you do get stuck. I'll be walking around. In video 1, I employed a range of communication strategies and resources that effectively and efficiently promote student learning. These include verbal and non-verbal communication strategies, active listening techniques, questioning methods, and specific classroom resources such as a think, pair, share, a PowerPoint, and facilitating class discussions. Each of these elements play a crucial role in facilitating understanding and engagement during the lesson on creating an ideal livable city. Firstly, if we look at verbal and non-verbal communication strategies, I tried to implement the following things. Firstly, I tried to implement a cue to attention. I used both verbal cues such as a call and response, e.g. Marco Polo, to get students' attention. For example, when transitioning from the think and pair component of the think, pair, share activity to the share, I made sure to use my call and response, Marco Polo. This call and responses indicates to students that it's time to refocus and transition to the next activity. Cues to attention have been found to help in maintaining classroom behaviour expectations. It also ensures that all students are ready to engage with the new task and has been found to reduce wait times, thus increasing overall learning time. I also demonstrated active listening by nodding, making eye contact, and summarising students' contributions during discussions. This validates the students' input and encourages further participation. For instance, when the students were up and sharing their ideas about what makes a city livable, I tried to repeat the key points to confirm their understanding and show that their ideas are being valued. This also ties into a behavioural classroom management strategy, especially when looking at positive reinforcement so they keep contributing to discussion. Hauser and Fryman found that there was a relationship between a teacher's effective non-verbal communication and a pupil's sense of confidence in the subject area. Conversely, they found that a teacher's poor non-verbal communication leads to pupils' hesitation in the subject area. Furthermore, Vassal et al. Found that active listening is essential for building trust and rapport with students and building those positive relationships. The effective use of verbal and non-verbal communication helps in maintaining classroom and ensuring these students are engaged. Verbal cues help keep students informed about transitions and expectations, while non-verbal cues help maintain attention and focus. According to recent research, non-verbal cues are critical in maintaining classroom dynamics and improving students' engagement. Questioning is a high-impact teaching strategy, and questioning is a powerful tool that effective teachers use for a range of purposes, according to the Victorian Government. It engages students, stimulates interest and curiosity in the learning, and makes links to students' lives. I used a range of questioning techniques throughout the video. Firstly, not shown, but once I had set the activity and I'd be walking around the room making sure the students were on task, I'd implement a method such as like a thumbs up, thumbs down. So I'd be like, Connor, are you doing good? Thumbs up, thumbs down, thumbs somewhere in the middle to gauge understanding. This clarifies where students might need additional support or clarification. It can also act as a form of formative assessment. To promote deeper thinking and engagement, I also used a range of open-ended questionings during the Think, Pair, Share activity. For example, what features do you think make a city truly livable? This encourages students to think critically and explore multiple aspects of livability, which will later inform them with their maps. I also tried to stimulate further responses by open-ended questions. Using both open and closed-ended questions is an illustrative example of graded scaffolding of questioning. In the video, this allowed me to begin with kind of simple questions with superficial answers, and then I could progress into deeper questions with more complex answers. In terms of pedagogy and curriculum links, I used the Victorian curriculum. And I also used direct instruction and collaborative learning approaches, which also tie into an overall constructivism approach, which emphasises the importance of learners' experiences and interactions with their environment to construct their. During direct instruction, teachers focus the attention on learning the key skills and ask structured questions to make explicit links with the content, such as asking students to recall bolts or what makes a city livable. Research has found that direct instruction provides a clear step-by-step approach to learning and teaching, which helps ensure that all students understand the material. Teachers present information in a straightforward manner and model the skills that students need to learn, which can improve comprehension and retention. In my video in part 1, I really made sure to emphasize bolts and what they need to know by getting them up out of their seat pointing to the board. I also use collaborative learning through the video during the class discussion and think, pair, share, as well as creating the map. Collaborative learning has found to have many benefits, which are also listed just in front of me. It helps build a social cohesion within the class. It has social benefits, creating a positive atmosphere. It has psychological benefits, which reduces anxiety and can develop positive attitudes within the classroom, not only amongst teacher to student relationship, but with peers as well. I used a PowerPoint and I used a think, pair, share. Think, pair, shares allow students to formulate their own individual opinions. Think, pair, share as a learning activity has been found to invoke critical thinking skills. Students who are more willing to participate in a think, pair, share activity since they don't feel pressure to be involved in responding to questions in front of the whole class. PowerPoints provide a visual support and structure to the lesson and aid in comprehension of complex concepts. I tried to target active learning, which ties into that constructivism approach to learning. Active learning has been shown to be more effective in retaining information and understanding concepts compared to passive learning methods. The PowerPoint coupled with the think, pair, share activity is an effective resource in structuring lessons and engaging students. Throughout video 1, I have carefully considered differentiation and adjustments in order to support student learning. I mainly focused on providing adjustments for higher order and lower order thinking instead of targeting a specific student, which allow me to provide multiple entry points and levels of achievement throughout the lesson. The integration of these strategies and resources supports various learning styles and needs, ensuring a more inclusive and engaging learning environment. For example, visual learners benefit from PowerPoints and visual stimulus, while auditory learners learn from discussions and verbal explanations, while kinesthetic learn by doing, which is why I got them up out of their chair and moving around. The think, pair, share method supports collaborative learning and allows for differentiated instruction, catering to diverse learning needs and enhancing overall student learning outcomes. In terms of differentiated instruction and teaching, I asked students in the beginning of this video to sit in the seating plan. The seating plan is not only used as a classroom management strategy, but can also be used to allow for the careful consideration of ability grouping. Seating plans with ability grouping are effective because they allow for differentiated instruction and targeted support. This approach allows a teacher to tailor lessons to a student's skill level, improving classroom management behaviour and fostering peer learning. According to Tomlinson, differentiated instruction enhances student learning by addressing individual needs. Research by Kulak and Kulak support the idea that ability grouping enhances more focused teaching and better academic outcomes. Ability grouping in a seating plan helps reduce disruptions and allows for specific interventions leading to a more efficient and supportive learning environment. For example, in your seating plan, you could target a higher order thinking kid with a lower end kid, and they could bounce off and collaborate and share ideas with peer learning and intervention. Some other interventions, I also developed some routines into my lesson. This was the welcome, the seating plan, and the overall structure of the lesson. Hypothetically, if I had a student diagnosed with autism, this would be helpful as students diagnosed with ASD are dependent upon routine and familiarity. In terms of just briefly looking into autism, if there was a student who was autistic, Gordon and Pennington state how students with ASD may need time to adapt, process, and understand what you're trying to say. Therefore, the PowerPoint and the visual cues and aids that I have also used are not also beneficial for the visual learners, but also students who have autism and ADHD. I also implemented some verbal affirmations into my teaching. This creates a safe and positive learning environment for students to thrive. Gordon and Pennington state how students with ASD thrive with positive feedback and reinforcements. Incorporating these strategies and resources, I can effectively address the needs of my students through promoting active participation and ensuring a thorough understanding of lesson content. This approach is grounded in both theoretical frameworks and practical pedagogical strategies that align with best practices in learning and teaching. In terms of literacy and numeracy requirements, literacy requirements have been met by providing students an opportunity to understand subject-specific terminology such as livability and bulk. The students have also been provided with opportunities to craft and formulate ideas with spoken knowledge and language through the Think, Pair, Share activity. At the Think, Pair, Share activity, it also delves into developing the students' speaking and listening skills and how they should be applied according to a purpose. And it also allows them the idea to explore and interpret concepts drawn from research or the learning area content, such as their understanding of livability. In regards to numeracy, in the second part of the video where students create their map, they'll use aspects of numeracy to measure out their map, make sure it's to scale. They'll also be using a survey which will allow the students to make reasonable statements about a population based on evidence from samples. The sample is the survey collected. They will need to use the sample and the evidence to justify why they had made certain design choices on the maps. This micro-teaching profile assessment has reinforced my professional responsibilities and expectations for my learners and their learning in geography. Teachers need to be equipped with pedagogical and theoretical knowledge to effectively plan and implement effective learning and teaching episodes. It has been demonstrated that considerations regarding literacy and numeracy requirements, communication strategies, resource selection, and meeting diverse learning needs must be planned for and considered in an articulate manner. Through completing this assessment, it's been made evident to me that there is always room for future growth and development. In particular, I'd love to develop myself further, surrounding my confidence in differentiated learning and instruction and how this can be improved with using peer-reviewed theoretical sources. Through self-growth in this area, I can develop into a confident and capable geography teacher.